Hey, what's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maska, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous blue collar business. Today, we have with us Brad Scruggs. Brad is one of the founders of ZyraTalk. They've been in the automation and AI space for nearly 10 years now. They got their start by automating chat on home service business websites and work with over 5,000 customers. Last year, they rolled out an AI voice product that many businesses call their AI CSR to handle overflow and after hours calls. And now some are even using AI as their first line of defense. They are approaching over 1,000 customers using their AI CSR and handling tens of thousands of calls per week. So that is Brad Scruggs. Welcome, Brad. Thank you so much for being here. What is happening today?
Yeah, I'm excited to be on and appreciate the invite. Excited to chat about AI because, we were talking right before we hit live, and some people are skeptical, other people are super excited. So this will be an important conversation for a lot of people to hear.
I totally agree. So let's dive right into it. So obviously you've been doing AI longer than most. 10 years ago, people, if you said AI, they wouldn't even know what that stands for. Now you probably can't go a couple hours without hearing AI, AI powered, AI backed. Like people are throwing it in everything now. So
Yeah.
how did you guys get started in the AI space and get to where you are today?
Yeah, so we've been doing automation and AI, specifically in the home service space for about 10 years now. So I'll give the short story. We actually started with a lead gen company similar to Angie's List, Home Advisor, or some of the other lead generators out there. It was called Great Pros, and we were generating thousands of leads per month. And at that time, we were like, man, if there's anything we can do to increase our website's online conversions, we're willing to try it. So instead of online forms, we built an automated chat for ourselves. We weren't even thinking about going to market with our clients with that, but we saw a pretty significant increase in our conversions. And with how much money we were spending on Google and these other lead sources, we were like, man, I wonder what would happen if we just gave this away to some of our customers in the home service space. So here in Phoenix, some pretty big names, George Brazil, Chaz Roberts, they started using our chat and they started getting really good results. And the feedback was great. So long story short, we ended up phasing out the Great Pro side of things and started running with AI chat and automated chat for people's websites. The goal was always to get into the phones because for every chat a company was getting, we saw the data. They were getting 100 phone calls for every one chat. And we were like, man, if we can ever automate phone conversations, that would be incredible. At the time, this was now about 7 years ago. IBM Watson is what we were using to analyze intent of chat. Their voices sounded super robotic. So we built something on the voice side, and it just was not ready to go to market with. As of about 2 years ago, with the advancements with AI and some other products out there, we've now built an AI CSR that we're handling tens of thousands of calls per week. And our clients love it. I'm sure you see people in some of these Facebook groups. They talk about us. They're saying great things about us. And we had one week where we onboarded 80 customers. Right now, we're onboarding about 40 to 50 per week. And we will have well over 1,000 customers here pretty soon. So there's been a lot of momentum, and we've been staying very busy.
Awesome. Well, kudos to you and congrats on the success. That's awesome to really, to stick with it and to get to where you are today and just even have that vision of like, man, if we could ever get this right for voice
Oh,
seven,
yeah.
7 years ago. Now you're getting there. So how does it work?
Yep.
Because obviously a lot of people have heard about it. They might have called companies that have it just to kind of test it out. But like, what's the whole process of training an AI? Getting them to know your company, getting them to know your scripts. How does that whole process work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So every client that we onboarded, we obviously have best practices that we tell them, and they lean on us for that. So we have our best practices, but everyone is onboarded specifically about information about their company. So it's not like you can just, hey, sign up for ZyraTalk and go live the next day. We have an onboarding call where we're understanding FAQs about their company. Hey, do you work on boilers? Do you work on window units? Some people it's yes, some people it's no. We're also asking questions. How do you want to handle customers who aren't too happy? How do you want to handle reschedules, cancellations? How do you want to handle after hours calls, notifying technicians after hours? So there's a lot that goes into onboarding a customer. But that first onboarding call, it's only about 30 minutes, and then we'll build the product for them. So we can do some testing, they can do some testing, make any tweaks after that. And then we're setting up call forwarding for the company. So if they're not answering the phone within 2, 3 rings, or 30 seconds, whatever it is, and then whatever time after hours, we're setting up call forwarding rules for the company so that they're not missing calls. And that's the number one issue that we're solving is these businesses are missing so many calls. And I know one of our partners, he had posted on his personal Facebook, how many calls do you think a home service business is missing? And you're very educated in the space, so you probably know a pretty good range. It's about 15 to 35% that these businesses are missing calls. And as an average person, you hear numbers like that. It's like, man, they're missing that many calls. How are they even staying in business? So that's the number one problem we're solving is making sure that that percentage is in the low single digits that they're missing calls.
Yeah, and let's dive into that a little bit because I know talking to other people in the space, and just owning a home service business as well. A lot of the times we miss those calls, not because no one's in the office. It's because we're getting all these other calls that aren't actually people looking for service. It's, hey, can I talk to the owner? It's someone calling back in just to, check on something. It's salespeople. It's all these other calls that come in versus people that we actually want to talk to that we can solve their problem of, hey, I don't have heat, I don't have air, whatever it might be. So how does AI solve that problem if someone calls in and it's not a client?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say about 60 to 65% of calls are people looking to schedule service. That other 35, 40% of calls are people saying, hey, my technician was supposed to show up at this time, they didn't show up. Or, hey, I need to cancel a job. I need to reschedule a job. Or like you said, I want to talk to the owner. There's a lot of different scenarios that come up. So when we are training an account, we're setting up the goal of the conversation. And we're training the AI to understand what the goal of the conversation needs to be. So for all of these different scenarios, we have specific conversation goals for them. If it's something like, hey, I want to talk to the owner right now, the AI is going to let them know, hey, I'm an AI assistant. I'll take a message for the owner and have them call you back. Something like that. Maybe not exactly, but there's different scenarios for each call that can happen.
Awesome. And then you mentioned that, they'll say, hey, I'm an AI assistant. What has been your either stats or, what have you guys seen? Because there's difference of opinions of some companies want to announce that it's not a real human. Some people don't. What have you seen from like a statistics standpoint, call booking rate? Like how does that phrase affect the outcome of the conversation?
Pretty significantly. And it's funny you ask that because we've been doing some testing over the last 2 months on this. For every client we onboarded, we used to say, hey, no one's available. I'm an AI assistant, blah, blah, blah. The abandon rates were about 20 to 25% with that. And a lot of people thought, okay, this is a voicemail or this is an advanced voicemail. And we were like, you know what? Let's try changing it. We actually had clients ask us, hey, do we have to say it's AI? So we started saying, hey, thanks for calling XYZ Plumbing, blah, blah, blah. My name's Susie. How can I help you? Or they'll name their AI, whatever they want. And the abandon rates are about 2 to 5% with that. And with that initial greeting of not saying it's AI, it gets the conversation going. And at about the second or third response, it will say, hey, I'm AI, or we're going to have a human review this call, but let's keep going. That has worked significantly better. And again, our clients lean on us for best practices. So we're sharing data with them on what other clients are doing and what works well for them. So definitely seeing a shift there. Other people are like, we want to say it's AI. We're big on transparency. We want that to be the first thing that we say. So just depends on what the customer wants, but they'll lean on us as well.
That's awesome. And that's great statistics and information. So when it comes to training this AI and then learning, obviously there's like an infinite amount of scenarios that somebody could call in for.
Oh, yeah.
What are like the realistic expectations of somebody that's thinking about, hey, I want to have, AI start answering my phone? What are the realistic timeline expectations or maybe number of calls the AI has to receive in order to like be pretty dialed in where you can confidently say this thing's ready to roll?
So it's ready to roll, and we're confident going live after testing and everything day one. With that being said, not every call is perfect, and we don't sell perfect conversations. They're good, and they're 95% of the time they're perfect. But for the ones that don't pan out, or it's like, ooh, we wish it would have said this, or we wish it would have said that. Even those 5%, it's more so we wish it would have responded in this way. They can submit uh, that call with feedback for additional training. And we've got a team on standby where we're training the AI specific to their account, usually within the hour, to make sure that things like that don't happen again. And a lot of times it's for after hour scenarios. They'll be like, hey, I listened to this call. It came in at 1 a.m. We forgot to tell you what our emergency dispatch fee was. They gave our normal dispatch fee is and gave what our normal dispatch fee is, and we don't want to do that at 1 a.m. So things like that come up. So after that first month of going live, it's usually pretty dialed in, and there's a lot of confidence between us and the company.
That's really cool. So, I mean, it's really no different than a human, because if we're managing a call center, we're going to be listening to their calls and saying, hey, Brad, in that scenario, we should have said X, Y, and Z, or, hey, so-and-so, we didn't do this. Let's work on that. So really, I mean, that's impressive to be 95% going in when you guys get started. So with that, you guys got, say, 1,000 customers. What is kind of the breakdown of how people are using it? How many people are using it first line of defense? That's all I use, versus how many people are doing overflow and after hours?
That is a great question. First line of defense, we have had a couple people ask us if they can do that. And we're like, at first we were like, are you sure? Do you really want to try that? Because even us, we were a little hesitant. And they were like, yeah, we're willing to try it at least for a day or so and just see what happens. So we have less, I would say around 10 who are starting to do that and transition to that. And with that being said, it's not like they're firing all of their CSRs. So people worry about that. Is AI going to take all of these jobs? The answer is no. And I know you asked the percentage breakdown. It's a very low percentage of people who have it as the front line. Most people just use it for after hours and overflow. But we're not taking a bunch of jobs for the CSRs. I've actually talked to customers, and they're retraining their CSR saying, hey, don't rush through calls anymore, because when you get off the call and you don't get to certain ones, the AI is handling them. And now you have a queue of calls that the AI handled that you can reach back out to, make sure that they get on the schedule, make sure they were taken care of. So that's been interesting. The other thing people have been doing is they've been transitioning some of their best CSRs to become dispatchers or even do outbound. And there's these opportunities to unlock new revenue that wasn't possible before because their CSRs were just all day on the phones. So there's been some interesting transitions that we have seen.
That's awesome. So on that note, where do you see it going? So right now it's middle of 2024 going into the fall. Where's AI 12, 18, 24 months from now from a talk standpoint, just from like what you guys are doing?
Well, I would say there's going to be a lot more adoption. A lot of people are transitioning away from their answering services, because answering services, they have the problem of hiring a bunch of people during peak season. And then it's like, okay, we don't need all of these people during the shoulder seasons. So there's that ebb and flow of people. And we've actually been partnering with answering services so that they can use our product as their backup. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And obviously the goal of these businesses is just not to miss calls anymore. And we're going to see more and more people adopt that. The people who are hesitant in the Facebook groups, they're more focused on the conversation being 100% perfect every single time. That's not even going to happen with humans. The understanding needs around the problem is, hey, calls are being missed. That's the issue. And I think more and more people are going to understand that and start to use AI.
That's cool. And I mean, you're dialed in on, that's the problem we're solving, is 15 to 35% of missed calls. We're not trying to, do anything more than that, at least for now. So when it comes to like actually booking into, say, a program like Service Titan, I know a lot of answering services, a lot of companies will have them just take a message. You get an email, hey, Joe just called. He doesn't have heat. It's 2 a.m. Someone call him back. Does AI or ZyraTalk specifically have the ability, or will it have the ability to then book direct? Because I think that's a big problem with answering services as well, is you can't train them just on your company because they're answering the phone for maybe 50 companies and they're just trying to
Hundreds. Yeah.
like keep the ship afloat versus move it forward. So what are the capabilities of Zyra when it comes to actually booking into a CRM like ServiceTitan?
Yeah, great question. And that is a requirement for a lot of people. So we have a couple different ways that we book into the major FSMs out there. For some people, they want it in the bookings tab as an unbooked job. Other people want it on the dispatch board as an unassigned job. So there's a couple different ways that we do it, but we're also looking at standardizing that process because when everyone wants something different, it's very hard to continue to scale and make everyone happy. So we're looking at a way to standardize it and say, hey, if this is a big enough problem for you, you'll just use this process. And the couple different processes that we offer, not just one, versus doing something completely custom for everyone. So we're working on that right now. And as far as advancements in the next 12 to 24 months, that's one of them. But yeah, we book into a lot of the major FSMs out there.
Very cool. That's awesome. I mean, that's another huge pain point. Not only just getting the missed call, but actually doing something with it, especially after hours and overflow if they use it for that. So there's a lot of
Yeah,
people. Go ahead.
I was going to say people don't want to manually input all of this information and it's time consuming. So we're analyzing the calls with AI actually. So the call summary will go in there. We're parsing the data as well. Customer's first name, last name, their address. We can check if it's a new or existing customer. So as far as getting it into the major FSMs, there's a lot that we have done to make that integration pretty seamless. It's not perfect for everyone, but we're getting there. And for some people, it is perfect, but we're working on ways to improve it.
That's super cool. Yeah, and the other problem, like if you're using an answering service and they're just taking a message, by the time you call that customer back, they probably already found somebody else, especially if it's after hours emergency type stuff, because they're not going to wait around for a call back. So there's a lot of people listening. They're skeptical of AI. They're also like, there's always late movers. What do you tell late movers of like they're anti-AI, never going to use it, never going to do it? What do you tell those type of people, those type of business owners, leaders, today going into fall 2024, going into 2025? What do they need to know?
Well, I mean, obviously, I would encourage them to try it. For a lot of people, they just need to see it working for a bunch of other people. If you go into the popular Facebook groups and just search Zyra Talk, you're going to see so far nothing but positive things from people, which is great. So people are already trying it. It's not like they're going to be guinea pigs for this. And again, understanding the problem. Run a report. How many calls are you missing? Is it in the double digits? Chances are it probably is, even if you are using an answering service. So it's just important to understand your data. And then if you are willing to try it out, you can go to our website and request a demo. We'll take care of you. We're not super salesy. We are more so consultative to understand how we would fit into the business and understand their processes. So yeah, it's worth a shot if they want. If they want to see more people using it and get more confidence there, that's okay as well. Our product's always evolving, and it's going to be the worst it has ever been. It's always improving. So there's there's that.
There is that. So as we start to wrap this up, our business owners, they're trying to build a more profitable business. They're trying to, increase cash flow, achieve their goals, build wealth, do all the things, have a business that can run without them. What's one thing they can do within the next 24 hours in order to move their business 1% forward?
1% forward. Well, if you do use AI and unlock those other revenue opportunities, try transitioning one of your CSRs to doing outbound. We have a client where they've done this, and I have seen the data. She generates about $90,000 a month of revenue for the company just doing outbound. So what she does is she creates these lists in ServiceTitans. Let's say people who've had their water heater installed by them in the last 8 to 12 months. They're probably due to get it flushed. So she calls them and says, hey, we installed your water heater on this date. It's due for a flush. Let's also run through this home checklist. Do you have any leaky faucets? Do you have any toilets that are running? Basically plumbing jobs. And if they do HVAC as well, you can do that too. So there's a lot of revenue opportunities. You can free up your CSRs to do these different tasks. And when you talk about ways to generate more cash flow, that's definitely one of them off the top of my head.
Great advice. Brad Scruggs, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your journey, and really providing a ton of insight and advice on the AI space, especially the voice space, for all the blue collar business owners out there as we continue on this journey to prosperity. Before we sign off, Brad, where can our listeners go to learn more, listen to demos? What's the best place to send them so they can get a little bit more familiar with AI voice and ZyraTalk?
Yeah, ZyraTalk.com, ZYRA talk.com. You can request a demo on there. You can listen to some real calls. None of them are faked. We've heard of some horror stories where people will demo a competitor and they're like, hey, I didn't even get the product that was shown to me. So you'll hear real calls that actually happened, and you can get more information on our website as well.
Awesome. Go there, y'all. ZyraTalk.com, ZYRA. Brad, thanks again for your time today. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
And before you head out, if you are ready to have a business that produces consistent positive cash flow so that you can have a financially healthy business and achieve your personal goals, let's make it happen. Head on over to thebluecollaradvisors.com/call to book a free financial assessment of your business. I will dive into the financials of your business, take a look at what's going on, find any red flags as well as opportunities that you have in your business. Let's make it happen. Again, thebluecollaradvisors.com/call. Until next time, remember, what got you here won't get you there. If you're ready for different results, it's time to start doing things differently.